news roundup for you today. We're going to talk about Lucas Paqueta's new deal, potentially, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about the centre-back from Leverkusen, who Tim Steidten knows really well, but we might be interested in getting. David de Gea, possibly, as our new goalkeeper, available on free. We'll talk about that. Freddie Pottsman doing rather well. There's bits and pieces of West Ham news for today. However, do you fancy watching the Aston Villa game on the 22nd of October amongst fellow Hammers fans? And I'm not talking about going to the game, because Hammers chat are doing an event. Yes, myself, Gio and Charlie will be doing a live event at the Fatling pub in Hornchurch on Sunday the 22nd of October. You don't have to pay to get in. We're not asking you for any money. But if you would like to watch the game in amongst fellow West Ham fans, then come along and join us. From the kickoff is at 4:30. Get to the Fatling pub for about 3 o'clock. Myself and Gio will be doing the build-up show live. Basically, the build-up show that we normally do on a webcam, we'll be doing it live. We'll all watch the game together. We'll have a few beers, few lemonades, and then what we'll do afterwards is myself, Gio, and Charlie will all be up on the stage, and we will be discussing, doing our review, basically like we normally do. But it's just going to be like a live event. Come and join us. We'd love to see you there. Fatling pub, Hornchurch, and that's on the 22nd of October, which is a Sunday. Right, let's get back to this West Ham news. Stories started coming out yesterday that West Ham might be in the process of offering Lucas Paqueta a new contract. I think this is a really, really good move on the club's part. I think there's several reasons for this. I think firstly, sometimes you might just catch a player at the right time and they might be grateful for the contract. Possibly with Lucas Paqueta, now might be such a time. He's obviously got the FA investigation hanging over him. It's not hanging over him. He's whatever, he's presented his evidence, defended himself, whatever the case may be. We're never going to hear, we won't yet hear exactly what's gone on in terms of that investigation, in terms of the hearing, but he's attended the hearing, and that was, I believe it was at the start of this week. Obviously, because of that investigation for betting irregularities, his transfer to Manchester City fell through. And you can understand why it did. If you are one of those clubs that's going to go and spend 80-odd million, and we were asking for 100 million for Paqueta, and I think he's worth it, by the way. If you're one of those clubs looking to spend that sort of money on a player, it's too big a risk. You cannot risk buying that player and then him getting, basically him getting banned. You spend 100 million on the player and he gets banned for 3 years or something like that. Now, he might not get banned at all. Possibly nothing happens, but it's a risk. You can understand why the big clubs don't want to do it. However, West Ham, I think, have been very, very good to Lucas Paqueta, and I think the fans have been really good to Lucas Paqueta, and I sort of hope he appreciates it. In fact, I know he appreciates it, because he's said as much. Obviously, he's repaying West Ham with his performances. So I think possibly now might be the right time to offer him a deal. There's some risk on West Ham's part, which of course is the same if he does get banned. But you know what? We've already taken the risk because we've paid out that money. And there have been times since he's been at the club, that when, maybe we might have looked at him at the start of last season and thought, I don't know if we're going to get our £50 million back. Now, the release clause of £85 million is looking cheap. He's a £100 million player. He absolutely is. Without all this crap hanging over him, this dark cloud of an investigation hanging over him, he's one of the best. He would grace any team in the Premier League and anywhere else, quite frankly, for that matter. So I think with that in mind, if we can tie him down to a new deal, and the rumoured amount is £200,000 a week, but also get rid of that sell-on clause, that buyout clause, which means as from next July 2024, any other club can come in and take him as long as they pay West Ham £85 million. If we can get rid of that and give him the security of a long-term contract, I think it might be a risk worth taking. I mean, it's easy for me to say. It's not my... It's not my money, ultimately. It's the club's money. But I've said for quite some time, West Ham have always had to take players, because we're not the richest club in the world. Sometimes we have to take players that may be possibly a little bit broken. And I don't mean that Lucas Paqueta is broken, but I've said it. Dimitri Payet, excellent player, but there was a reason why the top clubs didn't take him. Paulo Di Canio, excellent player. There was a reason the top clubs didn't take him. And I think when you're looking at Lucas Paqueta, there's possibly a reason now why the top clubs won't. They'll think it's risk. I think it's an opportunity for us to tie him down and get a player that's grateful to be playing at West Ham. And the club appears to be going on the up. So I think that's really interesting. Sort of watch this space. I think the news, I thought the Jarrod Bowen news was exceptional. This would top that off. This would be a cherry on top. This would be a cherry on top and sprinkles and some icing. and a bit of fudge caramel syrup, I think, as well. Probably showing you, demonstrating a little bit what my favourite. I do love a slice of cake. It has to be said. Anyway, let's get on to Freddie Potts playing really well for Wycombe. What do they compare him with? Cesc Fabregas. I say it's like Cesc Fabregas, but he's playing really, really well for Wycombe at the moment. I might actually, to be fair, Wycombe is not a million miles away from here. I might tap up Mr. Andy Walsh and see if he fancies going. Might take in a Wycombe game. If I go, I'll let you know. We'll go and do a little Freddie Potts watch or something like that. That should be interesting. David de Gea, you all know who he is. He's the Manchester United goalkeeper. I think did he join Man United when he was 17 or 18 or something like that? It seemed like he was there for years and years and years. Then they mucked him about at the start of this season, didn't they? And then they signed Anana from Inter Milan. Bloody hell! I mean, he don't look too clever, does he? He is. We call him Butterfingers. I mean, he looks like he can't catch, which is a problem. I've got to say, it's a bit like a footballer that can't, an outfield player that can't kick. This guy can't catch, it appears. So, look, they may have made a bit of an error there. The upshot is that David de Gea is still apparently, and I've just gone and checked, he hasn't found a club yet. He hasn't found a club. He's still a free agent. We could go and get him now. Be interested to know what you guys think about that in the comments, actually. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think we should go and get David de Gea on a free? Read a little bit about it before making this video. Apparently, he would prefer to move to Spain. But let's be fair, if he's on a free at the moment and no one snapped him up, looks like he doesn't have a ton of options at all. I don't know. I do remember. The game at Upton Park and whatever, because I was sat right at the bottom of the Bobby Moore stand. In fact, the intro on these videos, with the ETC Sports intro, where you can see the crowd, that is where I was sat, where the crowd is singing. That's exactly where I was sat, and I've got quite a lot of footage from that day, and there's some interesting songs being sung at David de Gea, that's for sure. Anyway, I'm sure he'll put that all behind him. It'd be interesting to see. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think, with Lucas Fabianski coming to the end of his time at West Ham, would not be too bad a move at all. Right, we've got one more bit of news, and it's about a West Ham. Well, I say West Ham. It's about somebody that would really interest Tim Steidten, because I don't know if you know this, Bayern Leverkusen. Well, you probably do. I mention it every video. Bayern Leverkusen and Stuttgart are top of the top of the Bundesliga at the moment, which I think is really, really good for the Bundesliga. I got no massive interest in what goes on over in Germany at all. But I do think it's bad for a league when the same team wins it all the time. And they might have done 11 on the trot, Bayern Munich, something like that. It is time for someone else to win it, just to freshen that league up. So maybe, just maybe, one of these teams could do it. I don't know. It's early on in the season. I know that Borussia Dortmund, they bottled it last season. If we're honest, it's not a nice term to use, but Borussia Dortmund bottled it last season. Anyway, with that in mind, Leverkusen are doing really, really well. In fact, I might we might have a little chat about something a little bit more to do with that during the weekend on a video. But anyway, they have got a centre half called Edmond Tapsoba. And I think he's a Burkina Faso international. Pretty sure that's what he is. Left-sided central defender. He's a hulk. He's massive. He's just a massive, massive bloke. But left-sided central defender, I found this really, really interesting. We've been looking to make a move for him. Apparently, the link is obvious, but that doesn't mean it's false. So he's been there at Leverkusen for 3 odd years. Very, very well known to Tim Steidten, obviously. And you can understand why I put 2 and 2 together. Tim Steidten at West Ham. And then we need a left-sided defender. But whether we need one, it doesn't matter. David Moyes wants one. That's why he chased Harry Maguire for so long. Neiferger's not been in the best of form. You could understand why this might be a runner. This is not going to happen in the January, though. They don't want to sell anyone in January. You can understand why. They've got themselves right up there, and they're in a massive push now to go for the Bundesliga. But I've looked, quite an interesting link. There was also the other link. I mentioned it on another video, and that was obviously Saudi Arabia Pro League. Saudi Pro League clubs being interested in Kurt Zouma. What can I say? I don't know where all that. Loads of Zouma news in the last couple of days. Loads of news about Zouma. Loads of news about Souček. all of which are false. I mean, even some of the biggest people were running with it yesterday. I did the video yesterday about how the news about Souček was false. Contacted the club. They said he's got a 4-year deal. Yet still, after I did that video, I had a Daily Mail run with the same story. Some pretty big websites running with the story that Souček's contract runs out at the end of the season. So it's really weird. So I don't know why some of them are running with these stories, but a lot of them are inaccurate. The thing about Zuma's not being offered a new deal. That's what the club have said anyway. But as I mentioned, I don't think he'd pass any medical. So whether he'd go to Saudi Arabia, I don't know. Maybe they would brush aside the fact that, you know, maybe he's playing with an injury. I can't see us selling Kurt Zouma. I think there's nothing in the story. I think we're not going to offer him a new deal. I don't think we need to. I think he's probably got 18 months left. Probably got an option on that. We don't need to offer him a new deal. 2.5 more years of Kurt Zouma. We'll probably assess it then, as I said in the previous video. And I don't think we're going to sell him either. So nothing to see here. But just because we're not going to get rid of Kurt Zouma doesn't mean that we are not going to go after this left-sided centre-back from Bayern Leverkusen, Edmond Tapsoba. Looks to be a decent player. Anyway, there you go. That's that. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget what I said about the event, 22nd of October. 22nd of October in Hornchurch, and myself, Gio, and it's a Fatling pub, sorry, I should have said that. Myself, Gio, and Charlie will be doing a live broadcast, live show, having a bit of a laugh, watching the game together. We can celebrate together. We can drown our sorrows together. Let's certainly hope it's the former. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.